Hello everyone, I'm Stuart. You probably know me as an animator, but something you might not know, depending on what you watch on my channel, I can make games, and I decided to test that by working on a project for a game jam. Now, if you've seen my course reviews on Game Maker, you know that I know how to make a game, but I'm actually better with Unreal Engine than Game Maker. But I've never actually finished a proper game before, not even with Game Maker. And well, as I'm writing the script and making this video, I still technically haven't. But by the time you're watching this, I have made a fully functioning game for a game jam. This particular game jam gave me about 3 weeks to complete my game, which is a solid amount of time. But the theme was what really caught my attention. Five Nights at Freddy's. That's right, I had to make a Five Nights at Freddy's fan game. So for the game itself, I spent a while thinking about what it could be. Then it hit me. What if it was FNAF 1 but you played as William Afton? Now, I know what some of you might be thinking. Didn't that already happen in the week before? Well, first of all, that's a book. Second, I haven't read it, so if I was inspired by anything off of it, it was purely the concept. And I had a few ideas on how to make this different from the original game. Like, what if after an animatronic tries to attack you and leaves the hall, there's a chance they backtrack to try to get you again? Or what if all the animatronics could attack from both doors? But honestly, I don't need to think about all that right now. First, I just need to get the basics working. First, I downloaded an amazing FNAF 1 map by Mamont Nikita. Now, I could have 3D modeled an entire FNAF map from scratch, but I was on a time limit and I needed this done fast. What I did make though were the animatronics. These are actually the same ones from my FNAF tutorial series. I didn't create them specifically for the game jam, but I figured why download models when it had perfectly good ones right here. Real challenge though was assigning them to a skeleton. This took way longer than I expected. And yeah, it's a bit buggy. Some things got assigned to the wrong bones. But it's fine, no one will notice, as long as I just don't move those bones. And also, I only caught this after I had published the game. But whenever Freddy is idle in his stage, you can see his endoskeleton arm clipping through his hand. But I mean, that's fine, because that's a canonical thing he can do in his original game. Right along with Bonnie floating. Even though I imported the models, it still took forever to separate everything into different pieces, like making each door, the fan, and the other objects their own model. It was a long process, but I had to do it, otherwise making changes in Blender would have been a nightmare. And more importantly, the doors wouldn't even be able to open properly. Now, for my game engine, I used Unreal Engine 5. It had its upsides and its downsides. On the upside, Unreal Engine 5 looks really realistic, and is pretty easy to code in, same with every other Unreal Engine. But on the downside, some people not even be able to run the game. And once it's fully packaged, it starts lagging even though it runs smoothly in the engine. And trust me, we're gonna run into a really big difference between the packaged and unpackaged builds in Unreal Engine later in the video. The first thing I set up was the light from the light bulb in your office. But then I realized because of that, you could see in your hallway enough to tell what was there without turning on the door light. Now, some games might take this as a defeat and move on. But I wasn't having any of that. I decided to fight back by dimming the office lighting. And when that didn't work, I took a step further and added a big void-colored square in the connection between the office and the hall. Now, that might sound like an obvious fix that you could see, and it sounds very like duct tapey, but it actually works and it looks almost seamless. You'll have to actually really look for the part where the light level just jumps to black in order to notice it. Next up were the cameras. Now, most FNAF games, even the official ones, just use static images for their cameras. However, since I was using a 3D engine, I wasn't held back by those limitations. So I made it so the camera didn't show you still images, they showed you what was going on in real time, including the animatronics walking away, which means I need to make an AI, right? So, for my AI, the animatronics are going to be pretty similar to the original FNAF AI. And honestly, I have one person to thank for making this possible. Without him, I wouldn't have known how to make a FNAF AI in the first place. I mean, sure, I probably would have figured it out eventually since there are tons of other people out there making FNAF AI videos, but the guy I watched and learned from was Tech Rules. He made a video called Ruining FNAF by Dissecting the Animatronics AI. And let me tell you, every time I listen to it, I feel like I learned something new about the AI that I missed the first time. For example, did you know that Foxy has a 0 to 7 second delay after he stopped checking the cameras before he can move again? The animatronics that I made also have fewer destinations, which means they can get to your office a lot quicker. For example, Bonnie skips the stage where he's in the far hall, and Chica skips the stage where she's in the hall corner. And honestly, I really like how Chica looks when she's in the hall. She looks so menacing, especially with the light casting a huge silhouette of her. And in case you're wondering, yes, I did add the feature where you can boop Freddy's nose on the poster. That's a needed feature for every FNAF game. It's a sin if you don't have that in your FNAF game. Now, for Freddy himself, he's a bit of a wild card in the original games. Not only is he hard to see, but in my game, I took that to the next level. Do you know what you had to look out for when viewing Freddy in the dining hall in the first versions of my game? Tiny, flashing pixels caused by the light shining off of Freddy's metal parts. Yeah, it was that hard. It might even still be that hard, I don't entirely know. Not only that, but in the original games, if Freddy gets to the corner next to your office, he just stays there. In my game, he's still tough, but I made it so that whenever he's in the corner, he doesn't care if you're looking at the cameras or not. He just attacks you because, well, he hates you. He was originally supposed to go to the backstage area, which was imported in the map, and I decided to add a camera for. But that was scrapped later on. The feature for Freddy going into the backstage was the part that got scrapped, not the backstage itself. The backstage is very much still there, and I plan for it to be there in the next updates too. For Foxy, he is very different. He doesn't just walk around like the other ones. Instead, he progresses through stage where he slowly makes his way out of Pirate's Cove until he's sprinting down the hall really fast so that he can rip your face off. And he's not just trying to get in, because if he doesn't get in, he'll throw a temper tantrum and start knocking on your door, and your battery will drain.
Also, he's different though.
A feature about Foxy though is that once he is active and wants to go rip your face off, he'll wait a bit for you to check the left hall, so that you can see him running down the hall and then close the door in time. But if you don't check that in time, then he'll just attack you without you seeing him. And because all the animatronics will be able to attack from both doors in my game, I changed it from the left hall to the cafeteria. You need to watch which door he runs through. And because I wanted everything to happen in real time, I had to add a skeleton to the Pirate's Cove curtains so I could animate them. However, to save some time, I decided to make the camera black out before Foxy re-enters Pirate's Cove. Why? Because I really didn't feel like animating that. Honestly, even if I did, no one would really see it that much anyways. But to make sure the blackout didn't feel completely random, I added two things. One, the cameras always have a chance to randomly black out. And two, a loading screen appears whenever you switch cameras. Now, do I need a loading screen for the camera? No. Does it make the game slightly more stressful? Yes. Yes, it does. I was going to add fog, but I didn't like how it looked because it actually made things that were supposed to be hard to see easier to see. You may be wondering how? Well, a lot of things in the game were concealed in darkness, including the areas around the big black void squares. If I added normal fog, even if it was light, it would brighten those dark areas, making them look more white and black. So instead of removing the fog, I just turned it into black fog. Now things were even darker than they were supposed to be. Anyways, back to the animatronics. I need a way to make it so that Foxy has two different phases. One where he's in Pirate's Cove, and one where he's chasing the player. To make that work, I actually used two Foxys. One is in Pirate's Cove, and all he does is progress through stages until he's entered the hunting phase. Then this Pirate Cove Foxy disappears. Second Foxy is actually on top of the roof, waiting for the first one to enter hunting mode. Once that happens, Roof Foxy swaps in and starts chasing the player. But that's not all he does. He actually stops just outside of view from Pirate's Cove camera. At this point, he waits, either until the player checks the cafeteria camera, or until a timer runs out. Once that happens, he resumes his run to either both doors. But to give you a little more time before he kills you, he slows down slightly after going through the doors. And once he gets to your door, if your door is closed, then he runs back, resets, and the whole Foxy cycle starts over. Now, I ran into a bug here that took a bit of time to fix. If I just let the timer run out, Foxy would just stay there forever. Eventually, I fixed him by forcing him to try again if he failed to move. Because apparently AIs in Unreal Engine really don't like being forced to stand still for too long. If you want a more in-depth breakdown to how the Animatronics AI works, I'll go over that at the end of the video. But for now, let's talk about something else, like what happens when you leave the door closed for too long. Well, if you aren't careful, you could trigger the power outage sequence. At this point in the game, everything you were doing before doesn't matter anymore. If an animatronic was right outside your door, doesn't matter. If Foxy was sprinting down the hall, it doesn't matter, because once the power goes out, all the animatronics are gone. If your doors were shut, your lights are on, the cameras are open, it doesn't matter. Doors will be forced open, lights will be turned off, and the cameras will be taken away. Everything stops, except for one thing. Freddy. But he isn't going to behave the same way he did before. Instead, after a bit of waiting, this happens. At any moment, the song could cut off, and power outage will enter its next phase. But it could also play the entire song, which could save you, even if 5 AM just started. But don't count on it. This entire section is pure RNG. And as you'll see right here, it jumps straight to black. Now, I won't play a jump scare, but if this was a normal playthrough, a jump scare would be coming any second now, and you'd lose. As for the jump scares themselves, I kept it simple. When an animatronic reaches your door to attack you, and your door is open, the game just transports you to another level. One where you play as something that's probably called like BP_Bonnie jump scare or something like that. And I had to make one level for each jump scare. And there are 2 doors for each animatronic, plus Freddy's power outage jump scare. It's a total of 11 jump scares. Now you might be doing the math in your head and be thinking, wait a moment, shouldn't that be 9 jump scares? And yeah, you'd be right. If it weren't for the fact that there's 1 more character. But I'll talk about him later because I haven't made him yet. As for phone guy, because come on, it's FNAF, I had to have some kind of phone guy. I made him Henry Emily and also Michael Afton. Basically, instead of your actual phone calls, your phone calls are just missed calls, and the people calling you left the message after the beep. So you're just listening to voicemails from both your colleague and your son. I also added a little detail where when Bonnie leaves the stage, he drops his guitar, and when Chica leaves the stage, he drops her cupcake. Freddy, he keeps his microphone, because he's a micro hoarder. Yeah, I'll see myself out for that one. So, I think I'm done with my games, and with 5 days to spare. Well, now with my game in its bare minimum state, no extra features, no custom night, nothing fancy, time to upload it to the game jam. Surely nothing bad will happen.
Uh-oh, how unfortunate. Uh-oh, how unfortunate. I know how much you like to fight, so I'll add a new problem to your night.
So, it turns out for some reason, there are differences in how Unreal Engine handles code before and after packaging. And of course, my game just so happened to include something that behaved differently after being built. And of course, that one thing just so happened to be the thing preventing the animatronic from moving. So, I had 5 days to fix a bug. No big deal, right? Wrong. This problem was stupidly hard to figure out. I searched through tons of Q&A threads, tried different searches with different wording, even asked ChatGPT what the issue might be. No matter what I did, nothing changed. Sure, things looked a little different, but the end result was always the same. The animatronics refused to move. Every day, I'd finish schoolwork, spend almost all my free time searching for a fix, go to sleep, and repeat. I was starting to think I couldn't do it until I got someone on Discord to help. That person,
Petrafa.
That person, Petrafa, and he was a legend. Even though my code looked like pure spaghetti, he stuck with me. Even told me that most people would take one look at the spaghetti code, make some excuse, and leave. Together, we tried everything. We tested different AI movement methods, which actually seemed like they'd work. We even discovered that the problem had nothing to do with the AI move to block. The issue was happening before that. And finally, it happened. Turns out, for some reason in the engine, you can get the location of target points just fine, but after packaging, they forget they even exist. So I had to store their locations in variables instead of relying on target points in the environment. With that, it was finally done. I had finished my game in the simplest version. I only had half a day left, so I quickly updated the game. But then, for whatever reason, the game jam's end time suddenly came forward. I have no idea why, but figured I might as well take advantage of it and fix a few things I wanted to change. First thing I did was tweak Freddy and Foxy's AI to make them more likely to move throughout the night, because before you could literally stay in the cameras for most of the night without much risk, and Freddy and Foxy's movement opportunities would be cancelled if you were looking at the cameras. Not exactly the best setup. This also meant I had to change how Freddy worked. Now, if you look at him for too long, he can actually retreat, but I made his path to you way shorter, and once he reaches the corner, he won't retreat anymore. So you get 2 chances to stop him. Miss both, and you're getting eaten alive. Next, I decided it was time to add another animatronic to the mix and finally give the backstage some use. Introducing Golden Freddy. But isn't he already in the original game? Yes, but he's way different here. Basically, he's just off screen in parts in the surface until a random amount of time has passed. Oh, and it also needs to be night 4 or later. Once those conditions are met, he lets out a laugh and starts approaching your office. You can look at him to slow him down, but you can't stop him, except for whatever this is. Yeah, that's a bug I don't want to fix, okay? Anyways, once Golden Freddy reaches one of your doors, he'll try to get in. If you can't, he makes a very loud bang, drains a small amount of power, and then quickly resets. Then, he waits. The cycle starts over. Golden Freddy is different from the others in the sense that he's slower, but once he starts moving, he doesn't stop until he either reaches your office, or he doesn't and he has to go all the way back. Finally, I added a few more things to make the game feel a bit more complete. I added these heads and parts in the surface, some cleaning supplies in the supplies closet, though I always called it the cancer's closet, and I even added static to the cameras that can fade in and out. Static can make it really hard to see what's going on in the cameras. So, the game jam ended. And where did I score in the game jam, you may be wondering? Well, I scored first place?
Okay, you may be looking at it and be thinking, wait, no, you scored second first place, not third first place. And the reason why I said third first place is because originally there was one in between me and Ready for Freddy. It was FNAF Sister Location Remake, which was taken down probably because it was just unplayable at a certain point. But anyways, originally I was third first place. Now I'm second first place, but I think I should technically be third first place unless if it was taken down by the creator of the actual game jam, not the person who made the original game. Also, at the time of recording, it was third first place, so you will hear me later on still saying that I got third first place.
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised I got first place in my first game jam, honestly. That's cool. Not sure why there are 3 first places, but I'm not complaining. There's still a lot to do, like add Cupcake as a threat, add a custom night, add a separate 7th night, different modes like coffee mode and give the animatronics a chance to attack again and after her immediately, but I think I should save all that for version 1.0. I'll give you guys an update when that eventually comes out. But anyways, I think it's time to talk about the AI. Now, if you don't want to know how about that and would rather play the game first, check the description. But for those of you who want to know how these animal mascots work, let's dive into it. This AI was only possible thanks to tech rules, but it does have some differences to the original FNAF AI. First, let's talk about difficulty levels, which is just a number. When an animatronic wants to move, the game rolls a number between 1 and 20. If the rolled number is less than or equal to the animatronic's difficulty, and their difficulty isn't 0, they will move. But to keep it different every night, the difficulty will change every night. Here is a list for every single difficulty on every single night. You may have noticed two things. 1. Golden Freddy has tick marks and crosses instead of numbers. And 2. On night 1, every animatronic has a difficulty of 0.
Yet they can still move on night 1.
Why is that? Well, in the original FNAF, difficulty actually increases throughout the night. It's on 1 AM, Bonnie's difficulty increases. 2 AM and 3 AM, every animatronic except Freddy gets their difficulty increased by 1. 4 AM, apparently nothing happens despite there being an event for it. And on 5 AM, Freddy's AI finally increases by 1. As for Golden Freddy, he doesn't have a traditional AI level. Instead, he's either activated or deactivated. Simple as that. Now, for animatronic movement, every animatronic also has a delay before they attempt to move. Here are all the delays. Golden Freddy is the only one with a random delay instead of a set one. So, when an animatronic AI kicks in, it waits for the delay and decides where to move next. Bonnie, for example, has a chance to go to the supplies closet, but from there his only option is on the left corner. This means he has a higher chance of ending up on the left door than the right one. Freddy is a bit trickier. You look at him on the cameras, he might go backwards. However, if he's in the corner or next to your office, he won't backtrack anymore. The chance of Freddy going backwards is his normal AI movement plus a 1 in 15 roll, but only while you're looking at him specifically. Now, even though their movement is chance-based, they will always succeed if they are right outside your door, or in Freddy's case, in the corner next to your office. Once they decide to move, they will wait 0.1 seconds before actually doing so. If they fail to move, they just stay where they are and try again later. After moving, they check if they've reached your door. If the door is open, jump scare. If not, they'll either go to the stage or the cafeteria. Now, Foxy works differently than the others. Instead of moving between locations, he plays an animation of him slowly exiting Pirate's Cove, pausing at certain points until his next successful movement roll. After his 4th successful movement, he actually starts running, but he stops at a specific point near Pirate's Cove, just out of sight of the camera. Next, he waits for one of 2 things to happen. Either 7 seconds pass, or you check the cafeteria camera. Once either of those conditions are met, Foxy sprints down one of the halls. If the door he's going through is open, then he'll jump scare. If that door is closed, he bangs on it, drains some power, and then resets to Pirate's Cove. That power is 1%, but it increases by 7% every time he knocks. Now, whenever you are looking at the camera of Pirate's Cove, whenever Foxy wants to move, he will fail his movement. But more accurately, whenever you check his cove, he'll become locked for a random amount of time between 1 and 7 seconds after you stop checking his camera. Now, for Golden Freddy, he starts in backstage just outside the camera. He'll wait a random amount of time between 30 seconds and 2 minutes. Then, he slowly makes his way to one of your doors. You can watch him to slow him down, but you can't stop him. And once he reaches your door, if it's open, he jump scares you. If it's closed, he drains 0 to 1% of your power, then returns backstage and resets, and the process starts again. Now, whenever you run out of power, things get really bad for you. The game deletes all animatronics except Golden Freddy. Sucks to be you, I guess. It waits a random amount of time between 1 and 10 seconds, then Freddy's music starts playing. The game rolls a number between 0 and 90, and clamps it to a number between 10 and 60, waits that long, and then everything goes almost pitch black. I know it was dark before, but now it's even darker. You literally can't see anything unless if you're right next to it. Now, footsteps sounds will happen, and the game will wait 7 seconds, and there's a 50% chance that more footsteps play, the game waits 7 more seconds. And by the way, this can happen up to 3 times. If Freddy decides not to wait anymore, he laughs, and then jump scares you.
So that was how I made William's Knights. You can play the game in the link in the description, and there will eventually be a new video where I play the game. Eventually, I will make version 1.0, but that'll come much later than the Let's Play. Anyways, bye. What was that? A bird or a goat?
Okay.